I don't know what their plan was. I don't know what their plan was with selection. I don't know what their plan was with the way they went about the start of their innings. I don't know what their plan was against spin, which they're very good players of spin. Yeah.
You said the Oracle, as we're calling you now, your prediction of Virat Kohli being the leading run scorer in the match and the most important player. Well, that's exactly what he did.
The game. Again, you don't walk out and make 100. He batted like a genius. He was brilliant, but he read the play. He was patient. He knew he had time.
Kuldeep is their leading wicket taker at the moment. Another 3 for 40, going at just under 4.5 with the economy. How good was he in those conditions?
He's underrated in general. I reckon Kuldeep Yadav is underrated. I think he's a very good bowler. He finds it. He's not India's first pick spinner. Like generally he goes on every tour. He continues to show when he gets the opportunity that he's worth the selection.
On the flip side, you said that Babar Azam was going to be the most important cog to the Pakistani lineup.
I reckon that's a really good sign. Unfortunately, where Pakistan sit now, I don't know how. They need everything to go their way to make the top 4. But I think that's a great sign for Pakistan. And like I say, even the shot he got out on, it wasn't the wrong shot.
A very warm welcome back to Beyond 23 with Michael Clark. Of course, your favourite cricket pod where we deep dive all of the action which happens all around the world in international cricket. But at the moment, of course, we are focusing our attention on the Champions Trophy. My name is Erin Holland. An absolute pleasure, as always, to be alongside the great Michael Clark, the Oracle, we're going to call him.
Oh, no.
You got it right.
I got one thing right.
I got a few things right.
I got plenty wrong. The one thing I did get right, and I think we saw it before a ball was bowled, I think Pakistan have struggled to deal with the expectation and the pressure of playing a major tournament in their own backyard. So before a ball was delivered, I cannot comprehend how they could, apart from one change that was due to injury.
Yeah, Fakhar Zaman out with that injury sustained in the first
So they
match.
had to make a change there. So they made one change. They're playing in completely different conditions. The conditions in Dubai on that pitch is virtually the opposite to what they just played New Zealand in. Yet they made no changes or one forced change. I could not believe what I was watching. Won the toss, elected to bat, and then you can see in the shot selection in some of their dismissals, it was the fear of getting out rather than take the game on, try and beat India. Don't try and compete with India, try and beat India. The slow batting through the middle because we'd lost a couple of wickets and we got to build a foundation. I understand sometimes you've got to make that call, but it was over the top. You're playing India in those conditions that they know so well. I think after the first innings of the game was over. They didn't make enough runs. India were going to get those runs whether they batted for, 49.5 overs or they batted for 42 overs. They were going to make the runs. It was just a matter of time. So the game was over before India had to chase the runs, in my opinion. I just think the way India bowled spin and the way India played spin outclassed Pakistan. But again, I go back to the start of the tournament where I said that would be my biggest concern with this Pakistan team. It's not talent. It's not potential. They got plenty of it. But unfortunately, I think they're gone. I don't think they can make the top 4 now.
Well, that's the frustrating thing, I think, as a fan of Pakistan cricket, is that, as you said, there is talent there in spades.
Yeah.
That's never been the issue for Pakistan.
Yeah.
They're that sort of team where you're actually not really sure what you're going to get. Are they going to turn up today? Because when they do, they can beat absolutely anybody. They didn't turn up today against India. And I want to touch on that notion of the fear of failure and the expectation overcoming them in the moment, because that seems to be something that's been continuously hampering their development as a side again. Because there was once upon a time where Pakistan was one of the most feared teams in international cricket, but they're a far cry from that now. And I think today, in the early hours of this morning, we just saw that once again. If you're Mohammad Rizwan and you're the captain of Pakistan and you're looking around and time after time this is happening, that fear of failure is not giving you the ability to go out there and play freely and to put a good performance on the board. how do you try and turn the tide when something like that happens? There's this mental block that they have.
Well, you keep doing the same things, you're going to keep getting the same results. To me, this is probably this tournament. I'm looking closely or closer at Pakistan than any other ICC tournament that obviously that I was a part of playing or watching, because they weren't played in Pakistan's backyard. I know this game was in Dubai, but virtually that's been Pakistan's second cricketing home when they haven't been able to play inside of Pakistan. So they know those conditions so well. The game against New Zealand, they just played New Zealand and South Africa in a tri-series. Their preparation was perfect. Their form was perfect leading into this tournament. It was only going to be that. The mind, the expectation, that fear of failure that was going to set them back or was going to let them down. And again, it's not just performance, or it's not just about winning and losing. It's how you're winning and how you're losing sometimes as a captain or a senior player or a coach or an administrator that you've got to look at. If you keep making the same mistakes, or you keep expecting to, pick the same 11 and get different results, or play the same brand of cricket and get different results, or make the same decisions and get different results, it can't happen.
Definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again.
Exactly right.
But how do you action that change? Does that come from management? Does that come from coaching staff? But then the coaching staff is very transient as well in Pakistan cricket, as we know.
It's a number of things. It's conversation, preparation, but then execution. It's having the courage. Like that's a big part of what being a senior player is about as well. Like when you get into that position, it's like I always said, when you played in when you played in the subcontinent where conditions are so foreign to what you're used to back in Australia, the hardest thing is starting your innings, because, for a lot of players, when you walk out to bat in Australia, normally you start your innings against fast bowlers and then you'll get into spin, or you start your innings against spin, but you've got consistent pace and bounce. Yes, it might spin, but you haven't got natural variation. When you go to somewhere like the subcontinent, complete opposite. So practicing something at training is one thing. Having the courage to do it in the game under pressure, bat pad leg side, bat pad offside, the fear of, if I miss it, if I get out, all of those things, that's when you need a plan. And then you need to have the courage to have, not only to have the plan, to play to the plan. So it's okay to have a bad plan, but a bad plan's better than no plan. Pakistan, to me, I feel... I don't know what their plan was. I don't know what their plan was with selection. I don't know what their plan was with the way they went about the start of their innings. I don't know what their plan was against spin, which they're very good players of spin. I don't know what their plan was to beat India. You can't turn up to the biggest game of the tournament. It's like a final for these two teams without a plan. And that's how it looked to me. Now, I don't want to take anything away from India.
Wonderful performance.
Brilliant. Not surprised though. Like, their biggest players stepped up. They look forward to that moment, to being under pressure. Hardik Pandya, give me the ball and I'll get Pakistan's best player out. Virat Kohli, anyone bowl to me, no matter where you bowl, you're not getting me out today. Today I'm going to make it my day. These guys want that.
Hunger for the pressure performances, isn't it? Like, give me the ball. This is a crunch moment. I want to make that breakthrough. Hardik Pandya does it. Yep. You said the Oracle, as we're calling you now, your prediction of Virat Kohli being the leading run scorer in the match and the most important player. Well, that's exactly what he did.
Virat the game, again, you don't walk out and make 100. He batted like a genius. He was brilliant, but he read the play. He was patient. He knew he had time. Strike rotation, magnificent. When the ball was there to hit to the boundary, he did that. Used his feet well to spin.
46 singles he ran.
Yep. Ran well between the wickets.
13 twos.
But when you're chasing a total like that, that's why I say he's the best player in the game. Nobody chases a total like Virat Kohli. It's like the computer in his brain reads the play, knows what he needs to do, knows which bowler he can attack. Now let me type it in. Now go to work. And he did it.
Let's talk about that, because Murali Kartik said on a show off the back of that big win last night from India that the thing about Kohli and what makes him so good in a chase, he actually sat down and asked him one day on a bus back from a game in India, and he said, mate, how are you doing this time after time? What makes you so good at chasing? And he said, I remember watching you all play for such a long time when I was a little tacker, and I used to look at any game that India lost and I'd look at ball by ball what the decision was made by the batters, and I'd think, what would I do in that situation? Visualization was really important for him. Maybe that's why he spends an extra 90 minutes in the nets before everyone even gets to training the day before a game. What do you think of visualization as a batter trying to circumnavigate yourself out of a situation in a run chase? Because he is just so brilliant at it time after time.
Yeah, look, I think everybody's different. I think Virat's got his own style and his own way. I think how he would read a game now would be muscle memory. I think how he did it at the start of his career might have been very different to what he does now. The best players in the world know when they're in form or out of form. They know what they're doing well, what they're not doing well. They know what they need to work on, and they get up for the biggest moments. So it's like, I'm not saying you're every time you walk out to bat, you want to make runs. There's no doubt about it. Every time you walk out onto the field, you want to win. But sometimes the longer you play, you just need a tiny little bit more inspiration just to sharpen you up or to get you up for that game. He's batted for an hour and a half in the nets before this game for a reason. Probably for a couple of reasons. He probably admits, I'm not batting at my best, or I didn't make as many runs as I wanted in the first game, but I know how big this game is against Pakistan. So his preparation would have been perfect. That doesn't guarantee success, but it gives you the best chance. And in my mind, you asked me yesterday, who do I think is going to be the leading run scorer? He could have walked out. The first ball he cover drove, it went for 4. Bubba played the exact same shot, but he nicked it. Apart from, I had a look at it this morning, apart from their head position, which I'm talking like the difference is Virat Kohli's head was that much closer to the ball that he cover drove for 4 than Bubba's that he nicked. But that's what batting is about. That tiny bit of different result. One hits that much further in the middle, one hits the outside edge. But it's the skill to back your own ability. He's got out in Australia nicking that drive so many times, and people are saying, does he need to put the cover drive away? Well, in one of the biggest games he plays, first ball, muscle memory goes there, bang, he cover drives it for 4.
Even the fear of that, why fear that shot when it has been a strength of yours for so long? Circumnavigate that issue, find a way through. That's what the best players do, right?
Why fear that? Because that's reality. When you get out to something so many times, a lot of people would. They would put it away. Virat Kohli has the confidence that, no, conditions are different here to what they were in Australia. If that ball's there, I'm going to play that cover drive. He looked sharp. He looked balanced. So that tells me he's been working on certain things. And when I say balance, when he plays at the start of your innings, sometimes when you play, let's say a ball that's coming straight down the line and I hit it off my pads, you want your body to be going as much as it can in the direction that you're hitting the ball. So if I'm hitting a cover drive, if I hit it and my feet move at all, I want it to move towards the offside. So my body weight is going where I'm hitting it. Best case scenario is you hit the ball and you stay dead still. That's as balanced as you can be. If you're going to move at all, move in the direction you're trying to hit the ball. That first cover drive, he hit it and he didn't move. So he'd been practicing that, whether it's his head being in line, his feet staying still, his backlift being in the right position. He'd been practicing these things to be as prepared as he could be, to make sure he felt like he was in good form, even though numbers mightn't have shown that. So, yeah, look, there's so many things when it comes to batting. There's so many things when it comes to captaincy. But it's the important things in the biggest game. You can't afford to get those wrong against the best players. And I just think Pakistan, the way they went about their innings, some of their shot selection was, they were so tentative. That it looked like they were scared to get out. And then you watch India bat and, it didn't look that way at all. And it helps when you're only chasing 200 odd. I get that. But I just think Pakistan had the opportunity. They won the toss. They elected to bat. They had the opportunity to go and say, you know what? I know it mightn't be a 350 wicket, but it's definitely a 290 wicket. So let's go and try and make 290. Let's not sit here and hope we make 230. I think they got that wrong.
I mean, unequivocally, Virat Kohli is one of the greatest players ever. He's your favourite ODI player ever.
He's the greatest one-day player I've ever seen.
He now joins elite company as being the third and the fastest man to 14,000 ODI runs, only behind, the Master Blaster Tendulkar and Kumar Sangakkara.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you just on that notion you were saying about how the best players find a way through peaks and troughs in form and find ways out of those sticky situations. What did you used to do if you ever found yourself out of the purple patch, which you were obviously so incredibly well known for? Take our notes.
No, I think a lot of batsmen are the same. I think preparation is so important. I think having the confidence to back the work you've done from such a young age. I think trying to release outside noise plays a part. But if I didn't feel something was right, then I would train until I got it right. Even if it was on certain occasions overtrain for peace of mind. I wanted to go to bed that night, the night before the game, knowing that I was as well prepared or as ready as I could be for game day. I wanted to walk out on game day and think, you know what, even if I get out, even if I get a good ball, I've done everything I can to be ready for this. And I'm going to back that good ball, because I've been working on moving my feet, or because I've been working on keeping my head still, or because I've been working on, watching the ball closer. If I get that good ball, I reckon I can defend that. I reckon I can let that go. I reckon I'm sharp today, And sometimes you feel great and don't make runs. Sometimes you feel terrible and you scratch out 50, 60, 100.
Mother cricket is
It's a hard game. And
She's evil.
Like I say, the difference between Bubba nicking his delivery and Virat Kohli cover driving his for 4, it's that big. It's that close a margin in the game of cricket as a batsman. And unfortunately, that's the way it goes sometimes. And sometimes you can't look too deep individually at how you got out. You can think about it, but it could be that tiny margin. So tiny bit bigger step, head a little bit further to the ball. All those little 1%ers make a big difference.
Were you superstitious?
I wasn't superstitious, but I think I had a routine. Like, I loved listening to music before I batted. I felt like my brain needed something to think about. If I didn't give it something to think about, it would find a negative. Certainly when I was walking out to bat or at the start of my innings. So generally, I would have music in my ears because I batted at either number 4 or number 5. When somebody got out, I'd take my headphones out and I'd go and walk out to bat. The last song that I would listen to would stay in my head. So my head was singing a song rather than thinking nothing. But that was really that was the main consistency with my routine. When I think about how I got ready, well, I think I did. I think I'd put the same pad on first every time I batted. I probably had similar mannerisms all the time, but it wasn't a process that needed to happen. So it wasn't a superstition. I think it might have just happened naturally.
Those little idiosyncrasies that you develop when you play
and muscle
so
memory.
much
It's
cricket.
over time. You do something so often, just seems to stick.
I tell you what, winning is definitely a feeling that is contagious, and India are certainly doing that at the moment. They were absolutely brilliant in Dubai. Their ICC Champions Trophy is looking fantastic. Virat Kohli, we've obviously spoken about that century off 111 balls, beautifully measured. Great to see the king back in form, but the importance of a good spinner in this format of the game. It feels like Pakistan was lacking a second out-and-out spin option. When India was spoilt for choice, and Kuldeep Yadav is their leading wicket taker at the moment, another 3 for 40, going at just under 4.5 with the economy. How good was he in those conditions last night?
Underrated in general. I reckon Kuldeep Yadav is underrated. I think he's a very good bowler. He finds it. He's not India's first pick spinner. Like, generally, he goes on every tour. He continues to show when he gets the opportunity that he's worth the selection. Again, India, 3 legitimate spinners. This is one of the other things we've spoken about. The advantage of knowing your conditions, the advantage of playing in those conditions the entire tournament, it plays a part. India have read the conditions right for where they're playing, against who they're playing. Hence why they've won the first 2 games. I don't think Pakistan read the conditions well. I know they had 1 legitimate spinner, 2 part-timers, but I thought they had to play at least 2 frontline spinners in their 11 and then use your part-timers as well. So I think they missed a trick there. But in saying that, I think the way India played the spin of Pakistan was a lot better than the way Pakistan played the spin of India. Jadeja does what he does Axars offers that all-round, can bat, can bowl, brilliant run-out, direct hit run-out as well. Talk about setting the tone in the field. The catching as well it's so important. I've said that. The way you field in these tournaments is so important. And then Kuldeep to be able to, left hand, spin the ball back into the right hander, great variation, much slower bowler through the air than the left arm orthodox or a right arm off spinner. I just think that India picked the right 11 for those conditions, and I'm not surprised that they got the result they did.
Yeah, they're looking like the complete package at the moment. And we love all of our wonderful subscribers and comments that we get every single episode of Beyond 23. So do make sure you like, subscribe, get on YouTube, send us a message on Instagram, because we love when you're right.
Oh,
As
we love it because it's rare. We love it because
it's not
it's
that
rare.
Rashad Berrywell 2970. You predicted Kohli to make 100. Absolutely spot on prediction from Clark, and even time stamped it at 35 minutes and 0 seconds. but as you said, the cream rising to the crop. It was a wonderful effort by him once again. On the flip side, you said that Babar Azam was going to be the most important cog to the Pakistani lineup. He looked good for his 23 or 26.
He looked better than the first game, definitely. He had more intent, looking to score, playing his natural game. What did he make? 23 off 26?
23 off 26.
23 off 26. Even that strike rate, that's perfect for Bubba. I reckon that's a really good sign. Unfortunately, where Pakistan sit now, I don't know how. They need everything to go their way to make the top 4. But I think that's a great sign for Pakistan. And like I say, even the shot he got out on, it wasn't the wrong shot.
No.
The ball was there to drive. It moved away a fraction. He could have had his head a little bit closer to the ball, but my God, we've all nicked them before. Like that's just the way the game goes. I think he looked really good. If he goes on to make 80, 100, it's a different game. And I think that performance by Pakistan with the bat shows just how important he is to that team.
The weight of his wicket, it completely stalled the impetus when they were trying to set a score as well, because then Saud Shakil and Mohammad Rizwan got themselves really bogged down. There were so many dot balls.
It looked like a different pitch. How hard they found it to rotate strike looked like a completely different pitch to how Bubba played. Virat, you just mentioned how many singles? 40?
46 singles he ran.
That's
13 twos.
Again, though, that's knowing conditions. That's knowing at the start of my innings, it's not going to be Lahore where I can walk out and just belt it from ball one. I'm going to have to rotate strike, get myself to 20. Even if my first 20 comes off 30 balls, I'm okay with that because I can catch up as I get in. I just feel like they got so bogged down. Naturally, your mind thinks, I need a boundary. I need to get my strike rate up. I need a boundary.
So generally, something you shouldn't.
Generally, that's when you play a shot that you regret and you get yourself out. And unfortunately, for Pakistan's middle order, that's exactly what happened.
So when it comes to troubleshooting this issue that they have at the moment, we are always banging on about strike rate, impetus within the batting innings, trying to score more positively, rotate the strike.
Yep.
One man who's gone back to domestic cricket, reevaluated his game and come out of it beautifully was Shreyas Iyer. He had another wonderful innings again. There was a time when he wasn't a cemented option in the playing 11. He went back to domestic cricket and he's been averaging 60 in the last year. Is that something perhaps some of these Pakistan players should be looking at doing? How do you go about changing the tide in this consistent narrative that we're seeing now about strike rates and rotation of strike and these things within the playing 11 just not clicking?
Yeah, well, Pakistan's had a lot of cricket as well in the lead up to this, so I don't know if they would have had time to play domestic cricket. India had a little gap there, so their players went back, which I think is important. I think for every country, I say it about Australian players, if you've got the chance to play for your state or even your club, I would advise doing that over going to the nets and batting. I think batting in the game and making 40 is like 20 net sessions. I think the pressure of getting out is... You need to practice that as well because you can get out 20 times in the nets or bat like a genius in the nets and it doesn't show anything on a scorecard because there's no pressure of getting out. So, look, I think Shreyas Iyer is a wonderful player, has been for a long time, very gifted, got all the shots, in my opinion, can play all 3 formats, but he hasn't maximised his opportunities when he's had them for India. You watch him in the IPL, some of the things he does, he's... freakish. Yeah. He's so skillful, so talented. So maybe he needed that. Maybe he needed to go back to first-class cricket, score some runs, get his confidence back. And now he's an important part of this team. Again, I think that's why I pick India as the favourites in this competition, because they've got so much power through their batting, but they've also got the skill to go assess the pitch. It's not a 350 or a 380. So I mightn't have to make 100 off 100. I might have to make, I might have to make 65 off 100 just to get us to 260 because we think we can win the game with that. And know your role. Someone like Rohit Sharma, he knows now the importance of the power play. He's going to have to take more risks and look to go harder, because that allows the middle order to take a bit longer if you lose a wicket to come in.
And they're
if you're
tried and
starting at
tested.
spin.
He knows that they're going to get them the runs as well. He doesn't feel like the weight of my wicket is so precious if I get out.
Well, they've got depth, don't they? Yeah. They've got a lot of talent. They bat a long way down. Even you look at where Jadeja's batting, the runs he scored for India over a long period of time. He could walk out and make 70 if needed. There's lots of depth, but it's also knowing they can. You watch them play IPL and they smack it. Their whole batting order has, strike rates of 140, 150 above. But if it's needed to rotate strike, Virat Kohli, run between the wickets, take singles, take twos, strike at 80, then if that's what's needed to win the game, I think they're willing to do that. And that, I think, come the back end of the tournament will be significant.
I think looking at that really comprehensive win, 6-wicket drubbing of Pakistan, we billed it as the greatest rivalry. It didn't live up to expectations, unfortunately. Last night in Dubai, are they still your team to beat after that performance?
India's definitely still my favourites. I think I was really impressed with the Aussies. I thought that was brilliant, and I think they're in for a massive game tomorrow against South Africa. I can't wait for that. I think that's going to be a beauty. I think my predictions, again, talk about getting them wrong. I think have definitely changed. To me, I think New Zealand and India have been the two standout teams in that group. New Zealand are flying high on confidence. The fact they won that tri-series, I think, has done them the world of good. And I think they've shown they know how to play in Pakistan conditions. So I think they are, they're going to be tough to beat, which really means, Pakistan's going to be out of the tournament. And then I think England losing like that to Australia, it's going to take an amazing effort to come back from that. So let's see what happens in this game, Australia versus South Africa. Again, if South Africa play the way they played in their first game, I think it's South Africa, Australia that are going to qualify in that group. But as I said before, a ball was bowled. I still believe there's a different South Africa in there. I hope I'm proven wrong. I hope they keep playing the same brand of cricket they've played, but I wouldn't be writing England off just yet. So, big game. Australia versus South Africa is a big game to see, can South Africa play the same brand of cricket? Do they believe they can win this competition? And can Australia back up an unbelievable performance?
So many questions still to be answered in this year's ICC Champions Trophy. It's been a wonderful competition so far. Plenty of headlines, plenty for us to talk about.
Wait. Before we go, I got one for you, talking about some of our listeners that message in. From LD Wagami, can someone tell me what shoes Erin Holland is wearing? She's going the trainers. I love it. I love your style, girl. What have you got on?
I'm going to try and wear a different suit and a different pair of kicks for every single podcast. Look good, feel good, play good, as we said.
We all love
Episode 1.
trainers.
Yeah, I know
We
you
all
love your
love
trainers.
trainers.
They're very interesting. Do make sure you watch us on YouTube and Spotify so you can get a little look at the fashion choices that are happening. But last episode, they were an old pair of Louis Vuitton high tops, which Ben Cutting, my husband, gifted me for my birthday about 5 or 6 years ago, and I didn't wear them for over a year because you want to get something new and special and you're too scared to get a scuff on them. And he's an absolute psycho when it comes to
Don't get them
cleanliness
dirty.
and white shoes being white. Don't get them dirty. So I didn't wear them. Then
Well, they look new. They look brand new.
these are pretty fresh. These are a pair of Dior's, actually from Ben as well. He loves a good kick as a present.
There we
So
go.
very comfy, but I had to up my kick game. I mean, look at these.
Girl likes her trainers. I like it.
Loves
There you
her
go. Well,
trainers.
one thing I can guarantee, we'll be back to review Australia v South Africa. Go the Aussies. Fingers crossed we can back up a great win against England.